The streets are empty, the luxury huts are rotting into the sand, and the citizens of this island are starving, sitting next to massive stacks of paper money that can no longer buy a single meal. Down at the docks, foreign creditors are loading up the island's only remaining tangible assets: the water purification plants, the heavy machinery, the boats. The locals are left holding paper notes, completely bankrupt. This disconnect should feel familiar. We see reports of record GDP growth and booming markets, yet rent is climbing, savings accounts are shrinking, and wages remain stagnant. When the definition of wealth is manipulated at the source, the results are predictable. This island's story serves as a map for how that manipulation begins and where it inevitably leads. Understanding an economic crash is difficult when the system is buried under jargon. Terms like quantitative easing and mortgage-backed securities act as a layer of noise between you and the actual mechanics of the economy. To find the cause of a collapse, we have to strip the system down to its chassis. We need to observe how an economy functions in a vacuum, starting with the simplest possible exchange. By tracking the timeline of a simple island, we can identify the exact moment a productive system turns into a speculative one and see the difference between real assets and the promise of money. Our timeline begins with 3 islanders catching fish by hand. One fish takes 1 day to catch, and one fish provides exactly enough calories for one person to survive. They are living at the absolute limit of subsistence. One islander decides to take a risk. He spends an entire day weaving a net out of palm bark, meaning he has to starve for 24 hours. The fish he didn't catch that day is his opportunity cost, the price of his investment. This chart shows the return on that hunger. By sacrificing consumption today, he creates a tool that doubles his daily yield. He has created capital. This is the foundation of every economy. Capital isn't something that appears out of thin air. It is the physical result of underconsumption and delayed gratification. Now that he has extra fish, he can loan them to his neighbors. This allows them to eat while they focus on building their own nets. In a very short time, the island's total production of fish multiplies. With a massive surplus of food, the islanders can specialize. Some build boats, others weave clothes. Because everyone still needs to eat, the fish themselves become the currency used to trade for everything else. Eventually, a central storage facility emerges to keep the surplus fish safe and dry. This is the first bank, pooling the island's real savings to fund productive projects, like massive communal irrigation systems. A healthy bank distinguishes between 2 types of debt. A loan for a bigger boat is productive. It increases the catch. A loan for a vacation is consumptive. It uses up the island's savings without creating anything new to replace them. As long as the island's savings are tied to real production, the economy grows. It self-corrects based on how many fish are actually in the vault. The system changes when politicians arrive. They realize that directly taking fish from citizens is unpopular. Instead, they begin issuing paper fish reserve notes, telling the islanders that each slip of paper is as good as a fish in the bank. To stimulate the economy, the government begins guaranteeing loans for luxury huts to people who haven't saved any fish. Historically, this mirrors the policies of central banking figures like Alan Greenspan, who utilized low interest rates to encourage massive, debt-fueled consumption. This balance scale illustrates the mechanics of inflation. As the government prints more paper notes, the supply of money expands, even though the actual supply of fish in the ocean hasn't changed. The citizens feel wealthy because they have more paper. They stop mending their nets and instead spend their time trading notes back and forth, betting that the price of luxury huts will keep climbing forever. By subsidizing consumption with printed paper, rather than production with real savings, the central authority has replaced tangible wealth with a fragile illusion. The break comes when the hut owners try to sell. They realize the huts are empty, the bank vaults are bare, and the paper notes buy fewer fish every day. The market realizes the wealth was never there. The government's response is to print even more paper to hide the losses. This is the logic of quantitative easing used by leaders like Ben Bernanke, attempting to fix a debt crisis by flooding the market with more currency. The crash was the final symptom of the island's decline. For years, it had slowly traded its nets and canoes for paper and speculation, and eventually the math caught up. These lessons apply directly to your own financial life. The macro-level story of the island is the micro-level story of your own career and bank account. Relying on debt to buy things that lose value over time is a mirrored version of the island's mistake. Following speculative bubbles is simply a way to be the last person holding a fish reserve note. Building your own net means investing your time into skills and assets that cannot be printed or inflated away. It is the transition from being a consumer of paper to a producer of value. Governments can manufacture currency, but they cannot manufacture your ability to build something. Your own capacity to create value is the only asset that holds its weight when the bubble finally pops.